Hi, and welcome. Today I have another page in my crappy paper art journal book. Um, and so let's get started. So I've already done a couple pages. I wanted to show you, I don't know if you can see it here. See how the back of that page, previous page, it went through. Yeah, I didn't like that. Um, so I'm not sure if I'll put wet media on it again. We'll just see how it goes. But I've got this kind of grungy paper, and I'm going to use that for the background. I'm going to glue it down so that the paper is not used. And I'm just kind of, auditioning different corners to see which one I like. And I'm going to use some glue and apply it. Now, I don't get it on real straight the first time, and so I end up pulling it off, and so I'm just getting a good glue on, and then I try to wipe it. I do have a better glue now that I'm starting to use to do papers, but see how I messed it up right there? I didn't get it quite straight, and so I had to peel it back off, luckily, before it dried, and then got it down straight. And then I trim it down kind of roughly at first, and then I do a better trim job. Now, I have a little bit excess on the top, but I really messed up right here. And so this is where I peel it off again because it wasn't on straight, and I kind of readjust it. I should have trimmed it with my X-Acto knife instead of scissors because the scissor just did not get it straight. And now my glue has dried. I'm leaving this in because it's kind of comical sometimes when things don't go right. So I'm letting you see that there's sometimes, even though I do this a lot, it doesn't go right. And so I have to kind of rethink it and figure out what I'm going to do. I don't want to waste that paper though, because I paid decent money for that paper, and so I just kind of want to make sure I get a chance to use it. So I've decided to use my collage medium, and I'm putting it on liberally, not real glumpy fat bunch, but I'm putting it on liberally so that it doesn't dry before my paper goes down. I think that was my problem prior to that. Actually, one of my viewers said, I think you're not putting enough down, is why it's not sticking. So I've tried that, and that seems to help. And so I'm realigning and putting it down, but now I have a little bit of a gap at the very top. And don't worry, I fixed that. So you won't see that little gap at the top when I'm done. But I'm just making sure it's all down good. Collage medium is a great medium to secure paper. So you don't always, especially when you're using large sheets, I use it for that mainly. Okay, so I've got it down, and just try to ignore that top section because I will cover it up. Corners are the worst. Okay, so I'm ready to go on, and I'm going to do some stamping. I'm going to use some StazOn ink. This is a pretty dark paper, so I'm going to use my StazOn black. And my first one, I haven't used a stamp in a long time. It's not a rubber stamp, and so it just, I don't know if it didn't take the ink or because it's an old rubber acrylic stamp, I think. Anyways, so I had to kind of get it primed. So I'm getting ready to stamp it now. This is a stamp from Rubber Dance. I've had it for quite a while, and I really think it's a great stamp. It's got, actually comes in two different sizes. This is the larger of the two. And I'm just randomly stamping. That one wasn't quite, either that was quite as dark or you just can't see it as well because it's on the darker paper. And I'm ready to stamp again, and I just decide, no, I'm good. And I have another stamp. This one's also from Rubber Dance, and it's a grid. And so I'm just going to put it in a few places. A lot of times when I'm doing this, I don't really know exactly what my collage is going to look like. So I may be covering it up with a collage, but that's okay. It's all a process. And that's what I'm going to use for my focal image. And so I'm just trying to work out what all I want to do to go with that image, and I finish fussy cutting it out. I'm going to add a little bit of vintage photo around the edges. And this is a tag piece that I have. It's ephemera that I've purchased and downloaded from Etsy. And I print all my ephemera onto 90-pound white cardstock before I fussy cut it out. And I thought this one looked good, but I thought it needed maybe a little bit more on it, so I add the seal, and I will be embossing these seals with black embossing powder. And I'm going to add a couple of the same seals to my page, and so I'm just kind of holding the flower there to know where I want to position those seals. And this is just standard embossing powder. And I did not use my, but I am now, my anti-static. And you can use it even though you have already applied your embossing pad stamp on the stamp, and it helps. And now I'm going to use my heat tool and emboss the seals. And these seals were from Eccentric. I had to think about it. There's a seal in Eccentric, and there's a seal in Fieldstone or in Field Notes, and so I just wanted to make sure I remembered. The one in Field Notes is a lot bigger. Even though the paper is really bad in this book, I'm really enjoying this book because it's a little more collaging, and I don't know, I think at my heart I love that the most. I love to collage. And just adding a little bit of vintage photo to my flower edges so there's nothing white. And that one petal's going to go off a little bit, but I'm just going to trim it. But I don't want that to lay flat, which is a little, it's going to add more bulk to my book, but that's okay. So I'm using some of my low profile dots, and I love these. Gives it a little bit of lift without making it really weirdly high. I do have these available in my storefront. They come, the package has two different sizes. This size here is the larger of the two dots, I'm pretty sure. And then there's a smaller dot as well. But it lifts it just the right amount. The rest I am going to glue. and I'll trim whatever is off the bottom in just a minute. I'm adding another little number at the bottom of the tag. Now I have this washi tape and I've had it for a very long time, and it kind of leaves some of the stickiness behind as I pull it away. But that's okay because I want to glue it anyways, just to make sure that it does stick. And here I'm just deciding which direction I want it to go, and I'll add some glue. And I'll trim that. And I think that is it. Once I trim the flower and the stem, I'm pretty sure that's it. If you haven't subscribed, I invite you to do that. If you like this piece, give me a thumbs up or a comment. I'd appreciate it. I do have some final pictures coming up, so stay tuned for those. Yeah, anytime you trim, you want to make sure you put the vintage photo around the edge to make it not white. Yep, here are my final pictures, and I'll see you next time.